Nice to read.
Thank you so much for reading. Love you. I'm an addict named Adam.
Yes.
There will be a speaker here tonight, a guy named Steve, and I do really love y'all. I haven't been here in I guess it's been 2 weeks, right? So this is the third week. Please don't think that I'm self-sufficient. I had to work today. I get to be a professor. Narcotics Anonymous. Swear. I could not, I fucking used. I shot my mother up with cocaine. I had methadone in the refrigerator. I was 12. We used. I lived right outside of Baltimore City. My mother's dead. My sister's dead. 2 half siblings dead as a direct result of the disease of addiction. First cousin, uncles. You name it. I'm that guy too. I'm that person. And I don't know why. I don't know why I'm clean here today. I don't. I started coming around the rooms with Narcotics Anonymous in 2008. So I think the Patriots went undefeated and then the Giants beat them in the Super Bowl. And I always knew, I was 25, right? And I had to come to the military because I'm not a prison dude. I'm not prison. Now I'll play spades on Sunday night for chicken, but and so I was going to go to jail. And I don't know. I was I'll go in the military. And they let me go. They let me walk. And so I did. I went to the military. And of course, I got stationed here in Newport News. So when I could, I was high stepping at home, getting some biscuits and some Xanax, right? I wanted to die. That's how at the end. I was a gospel disc jockey too in Baltimore, smoking crack. So there was always this there was something there for me, right? There was something there for me that maybe that's why I'm alive today. And I don't know. Maybe that's why you're alive today too. I'm here to tell you that, and now I have all this knowledge because I got clean and I work a program, but only 2% of us will ever get 5 years clean because it is a disease, chronic spiritual disease for me. I swear to you, clean, my disease wants to kill me. Man, it don't matter. Food, sex. Look, I'm not that guy. I think I'm a pimp, but I'm not. I've been married for 15 years, right? And she must be sicker than me to stay with me. Right? My wife wasn't allowed to watch Friends, right? Growing up. My wife is a deputy prosecutor. And then here's me living across a recovery center at 18 years old, shooting up, dying. And so I don't know why that's my story, right? But if you're here today in these seats, I swear to God, you have a fucking story because they're dying. They're dying. Don't raise your hand if you know someone that's died from this disease. I'm telling you, they're dying. And I promise you this, whether you believe in whatever, right? Whatever. Because I had a problem with religion coming in because my mom would take me to all these churches. There's this church, there's that church. And if you look at a picture of Jesus in churches, he's white. Right. So I was what? I'm a real smart dude. Something's a little bit off here. Right. With the truth. So I separated myself. But I'm telling you, if you believe in anything, right, and I believe in God does not bring us here. God don't bring us here for you have a purpose. We have a purpose. And we are worthy. We're allowed to believe it. But I don't know why I surrendered. I came in and out. And I haven't been clean since 2008. I came in and out. I did the dance, right? I'll do step 1, 2, and 3. I'm only going to use this. And you've heard my story. I'm telling you, you know what took me down at the end? Blunts. If you have the disease that I have, look, when I was growing up, we had dirt weed, mid-grades, and maybe some kind, but that shit today, they got weed called Obama. That's the first black president. That's some good ass fucking weed. And for me, with my disease progressing, I smoke weed just like I would use crack. $10 a day, right? $10 a day and going insane. And at the end, I'm at the damn Virginia Beach Psych Center because of weed. And here's a guy in here talking about, I was on a methadone maintenance program at 18, right? I've done all that shit. And in the end, it was weed because I just wanted to hold on to something, and it was this power. Because, I can buy the blunt, and I could roll it and it's mine, and it's like, and I can just, but from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, and I can't function like that. I can't function the way I want to. I want to live. I wanted to have kids. Like, you heard my story. I swear my niece, 1 pound, 7 ounces. Because my sister, she died, right? I mean, they had to stick the needle in her head. Heroin, baby, right? And so it was like, and now she's grown up, but I can't even be around the family because my family was so, and so what did I do? Finally in 2018, I surrendered. And what was that? I'm just going to go to the fucking meetings. I mean, come on. I knew there's no lobotomy. I took every medication. I mean, I've been on psych meds since and I laugh about it now, but I should be like, I got kidnapped at 5. My mother, this dude was a big motherfucker, beating her up. And so like, I've been on psych meds. I've been on something, right? And it's like, I just had to go to a meeting once a day in the beginning. Just listen to these motherfuckers, right? Like, oh, pray? Well, I don't believe in God. All right, let me just listen and do it. I have crawled on my knees in rooms that I never smoked crack, looking for fucking crack. But God forbid you tell me to get on my knees twice a day to pray. I couldn't do it. But at the end, if I drop the bud, I'm on my knees crawling all over the place, right? Like, I had to just listen and take the suggestions. And it doesn't mean that people in narcotics aren't. I mean, we're humans. I'm fucked up. I told you the disease wants to kill me clean. Fucking sports, gambling, right? Like, all kind of shit. It's not like, it doesn't go away for me. I am step one all the time. I admit it. I'm an addict. I already know. As soon as I take one hit of a blunt, it's nonstop, right? As soon as I take a drink, I'll keep going to the end. But okay, I know that. Well, I got to do something different. I got to do something, because if it says that it's a chronic progressive disease, that means it gets better. It's recovering with me. Before I introduce our speaker, I'm going to share this last thing, and I swear to God, y'all, I can fucking remember, right? Taking a big old line of Oxycontin. And if you have triggers, sorry, I'm an addict. I fucking think of drugs all the time. That's why I have to recover hard all the time. I mean, oh, white. Well, you know what's white. Colors. Yeah, I remember that. Like, I mean, I'm an addict. It doesn't go away. It's always here. And it's an asset. I was going to share something, but I'm going to introduce our speaker. Steve came a long way tonight, and he actually was working. That's why he's not late. You know what they say? They say you're only late to your first meeting. But I had to surrender, right? And Steve's going to tell his story about surrendering too, because he didn't get it the first time either. Like, I didn't get it the first time. He didn't get it the first time. Most of us die. I told you only 2% get it. But what did I have to do? I just had to try something different. All right, fine. I'll fucking get on my knees and pray to something. I'll call a damn sponsor. The most awkward thing ever. Why? But if they were selling me drugs, if they was fucking my sister and mother, but I was still getting drugs, I would call them, because that's all I knew. And it's so hard to but I promise it's the only disease that if you just try your hardest, 51% over 49, you get better. It's the only disease in the world that you get better than maybe when you were born, if you believe it like that. Because I do believe Cheetos and boobies. That was the first thing. Speaking of Cheetos and boobies, I'm going to invite Steve up. Steve?
All right. Sorry about your time, bro. That was a good story, man. I'm serious, bro.
All right, what's up, brother?
It's all you do.
Good to see you, man. Look, my name's Steven. I'm an addict. Thank y'all for having me out here tonight. It's always an honor to share my story in hopes that maybe it inspires someone to be able to live life differently. Bro, you looking dapper as hell, bro. I never seen you so dressed up before. Shit, I just wanted to sit back there and listen to you talk, see you in that pink tie and shit. Like you said, I just came from work. I talked to an old friend I used to get high with today. He lives down in Jacksonville, and we known each other for 20, 25 years. And I was like, I talk about you all the time, man. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, remember back in the day when we got a big old pile of shit and we had just started sniffing that shit? And you were like, bro, that gave me heartburn, man. I'm good, man. I'm going to bed. Like he had done like the first one. We had done like the first one. And I was like, really? I was like, we were at his place and I was like, you mind if I stay here and do the shit? He was like, I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm going to bed. I don't like that shit. He never did the shit again. And I was like, I tell your story. I share that with other people because he's not a fucking addict. Like for whatever reason, we were thorough. We've been friends for a long time. We did all kinds of shit together, but he could just put shit down if it like was causing trouble in his life, you know? And I couldn't. And I don't really understand what the fuck that is. You know what I mean? I had, I had trauma. I had shit happen to me that wasn't pleasant. I had things I didn't understand growing up. I was treated poorly by people that I was supposed to trust. But overall, like I had really good parents. They were just divorced. They both remarried. They were like responsible, at least in the way of they kept working jobs and tried to do the best they could for me, you know? And I had other friends who had those same things, some who didn't, but it's like, I don't understand necessarily what makes that fucking difference. You know what I mean? I remember my dad telling me a long time ago, like, why can't you just go to work? Like, just like do whatever the fuck you want. If you want to get high or drink or whatever, you know, I was probably in my 20s and I was first introduced to the AA program by the courts. I had to go in 2004. I had just had my daughter. I split up with her mom before she was a year old and I got caught driving drunk. So I had to do like outpatient and I had to go to these fucking meetings. But that was really the first time in my life that I started to have a little bit of honesty with someone, you know, in those outpatient groups, and went to some meetings and shit got a little better. I was feeling better about myself. My daughter's mom was like threatening at the time. She was going to tell the judge that I smoked pot and use that against me so I wouldn't have any rights to my daughter. So I was motivated for a while. That had already happened. I had just supervised custody. I had gone through court. She took I worked for Food Line at the time, and we would go in the summer to North Carolina to work overtime. And the biggest check I ever got, I worked like 14 hours of overtime, both days off. I pick up a dude in the morning. We drive like 2 hours, work all fucking day, drive home. That's the only way you could get overtime. And she used that fucking check in court to try to base my child support off of that shit. And I was so fucking mad about that. And I didn't have a lawyer. It was just the only person who ever stuck by my side, which was my mom, which I was just talking to when I walked in here. She's fucking living in hotels right now, smoking crack, living with the next piece of shit she found in the bars, you know. But she was by my side. And I just asked the judge, could you base it off my average annual salary instead of that? And he did. So that was cool. But I got supervised visitation like 4 hours one day every other week. And I never thought of myself, like, I was so pissed because I never really saw myself like that. Like, there was a lot of shit. I had a lot of friends who did a lot of shit that I was never willing to do or was never put in the position where I had to make the choice to do it. And I just never looked at myself as someone who was fucked up. You know, I was maybe irresponsible. Maybe I needed to get high to deal with life. But, you know, overall, I felt like I was a good guy. And so I was forced to go to these fucking meetings and I stayed clean for 6 months. And I talked about drugs a little bit. And they were like, I had a couple of people like, we don't talk about drugs in these meetings. So I would just say I was an alcoholic, even though my mom, I remember going to the AA meetings when I was a kid for my mom. And so I associated like alcohol with why I didn't get to see my mom and have a relationship with her. So and every time I drank, I would either puke or it just wasn't fun. Like I couldn't regulate the amount of alcohol I could intake. So weed was always my thing for a while, you know. My dad scared me out of like, he was like, the first time you drink alcohol or smoke weed, he's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, best chances you probably won't die. You know, nothing terrible will happen to you. most likely. But if you do anything else, you could die the first time. And I was scared because I had this dude, Greg. I grew up in Vermont, a lot of like fish heads and Grateful Dead heads. And they would do a shitload of acid. And my friend Greg had a bad acid trip and he got naked and ran through town and got arrested and got like 2 years of juvie probation and all this bullshit. And I was like, I'm never doing acid, bro. Fuck that shit, bro. Like Greg got fucked up early. We were like sophomores in high school. So I was like, nah. And then, so I didn't do any of that other shit, but I couldn't stop using. I was going to go into the Navy. I got really high scores and I could have been a nuke or an electronic technician. And so I had this thing. I was going to the Navy. I signed up. I went to boot camp and I just couldn't stop smoking weed. Like we had just graduated. You know, my friends' parents were growing this purple shit. And this was like the 90s. Like regs was like good, you know, like you didn't get dank, you know. So we were getting high as fuck, enjoying, you know, ourselves. And my parents were always pretty strict. The only way I could really hang out or get out of the house, I figured out, is if I worked. So I got a pizza delivery job in high school and I was Vermont spread out. So it would take 20 or 30 minutes to go to a delivery. So I'll go to delivery, stop by a friend's on the way back to the pizza shop and get high. Or I remember one time I stopped at a party and they were like, I did a keg stand. They were like, the pizza guy's got to do a keg stand. So I did a keg stand, went back to the pizza shop, got another delivery and fucking just kept working. But that was the only way I could really get around my dad, you know? So I went to the Navy boot camp and I failed the piss test. I thought I could drink this shit or whatever. And a couple of days later, they pulled me out with some other people and I wrote letters with a couple other guys. They're like, you can write a letter to see if you can get back in. So we did, but you know, they're like, you know, Zero Tolerance came out in 82 after some high motherfuckers drove a submarine into like a bridge in the Hudson River or something, you know? So the military cracked down on that shit because my dad was like in the military when they were still getting high and shit, you know? But he, again, not an addict. He just stopped. He's like, okay, I can't get high anymore. I got my son. I got my responsibilities. I got my job, you know? And so we wrote letters. We actually got back in. It was crazy. There was a new commanding officer, Captain Gant, and he was trying like a second chance program because they were losing 4,000 or 5,000 people a year from this initial screening. Or some of the dumb motherfuckers that would tell them that they use drugs, you know, like, how do you not know how to lie as an addict? You know, what the fuck? This is part you can't survive out there if you don't fucking lie and put on a mask. You know, that's what you come into the program and they're like, get vulnerable, get honest, tell them what you did. You know, that's just the opposite how I lived. You know, I always had, like when they talk about wearing a mask, like I always had to tell you what you wanted to hear, or like he was saying, even if you fucked my girl or you fucked me over, you didn't treat me right. Like I had to bury all of that shit to make sure I could get high or I could keep that connect, you know, and I could always mirror people and be someone different no matter where I was. And I could fit into a lot of situations that I don't look like I was supposed to fit into, you know? So eventually they kicked us back out, you know, whatever program it was, whatever admirals, they denied it. So I like went all through boot camp, basically got paid for working for the summer at boot camp, and then went to Virginia where my mom lives down here. She was doing all right, you know, then she somehow always kept her job in the government. She drank for the most part. So, you know, drinking was like socially acceptable. So she did that for a long time until her liver started failing. And now if she drinks, she basically pukes up blood. So she decided smoking crack would be a better idea. You know, shit like that made sense to me when I was using anything to really escape. You know, I just didn't have any other tools to like deal with shit. You know, I didn't know how to express myself. My daughter's mom, she was a real good lady. I got real lucky with the mother of my daughter. My daughter's 21 now, doing great. And she was solid, but she stayed there no matter what, but she would say fucked up shit to me and I don't know how to deal with it, you know, and I just started getting high. And when I was young, like we had a house, I was just, I guess, trying to get the check boxes of life together. Like, all right, if I have a girl that loves me, I have a kid, I have a family, like I'll be happy. And like once I stopped using for a little while with her and we got to all that shit, and then I just started going out and getting high every night after work. And for some reason she didn't like that shit. And honest to God, like I didn't understand. I was like, you have a house, we have a beautiful daughter, like all the bills are paid. Like at that time, I was still holding a lot of shit together. I still wanted to hold shit together. You know, I wanted something else besides just getting high, but I had to get high. I mean, she showed up at my friend's studio one night. We're all high as gas in the middle of the night, and she's got my daughter in her arms, and she's like, "You have to come home," and she's yelling, and she's saying, and I'm like, I'm not leaving. And she's like, I'm going to call the fucking cops. And my friend's like, you got to leave, bro, you know? and he was like, he's like, bro, she can't ever come over here again. You know, I can't be risking this spot and everything that's going on here. And it was just fucking fucked up thing after fucked up thing, man. And I couldn't stop and I never could regulate it. I'm like, still to this day, I dream about like, it'd be dope if I could just get high sometimes, you know, and go have fun and bullshit with my buddies and wake up the next day and go back to like being responsible and going to work and being honest, like what they call spiritual principles. Like, you know, I'm just not able to do that. Like I've tried so many different ways. Like I said, that was 2004 when I was introduced. I faked it for a little while. I got 6 months clean, got a car, got another car, working. And I was like, all right, I'm good. Went to get high with my buddies again and held it together for a few years, crashed and burned. Like 2008, I think I crawled back to my mom's house in Portsmouth. You know, she took me in like she always did. She co-signed all my bullshit. She co-signed cars for me. She went bankrupt multiple times over me, you know. It didn't matter how much she gave me. I could give her false promises. And I think all she wanted was for me maybe to be able to have a life, you know, that she couldn't figure out how to have with the tools and the skills that she had, you know. She went through crazy shit in her childhood growing up. 2008, I go back over there and I was like, all right, let's try these fucking meetings, man. That's the only thing that worked, you know. Go to the meetings, start getting honest a little bit, start talking, and I'm able to get a day clean, you know, get a little time cleaned. I get the car sales job back, get the money back, pay mom back, get the crib back, get the car back. And I always thought like that shit was the answer. Start hanging out, you know, start seeing my daughter because she was little, start actually having her without the few times I would have her, you know, find myself in a trailer park, putting her in the back room with some kids she doesn't know on a pile of like dirty mattresses while we're like getting high on the other end of the trailer. And that's like the one day I have her for the month, you know, but I just can't stop. Like I remember having her at my mom's little ass apartment in Port Norfolk and couldn't wait for her to fall asleep, like on the couch so I could go in the bathroom and getting high. And then I remember being high and hearing some commotion and she was up, but she was sleepwalking. She was like sleepwalking around the kitchen in the little ass living room in this little 1-bedroom apartment. While I'm just high as gas, like watching her, like not knowing what to do. And she eventually just went back and lay back down to sleep. But I was always so fucking shameful about that shit. Like, can't stop fucking getting high for one night. Like, as soon as she go to sleep at my mom's house, like, I'm out the door and I'm gone for the night, you know? And I just couldn't do it on my own. And I tried again and again. Again, I got my shit together, thinking that was the answer. Fucking start getting high again. You know, it's all gone. It's all gone again. It's all got smoked up. And the sheriff's showing up in my apartment, waking me up. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, what are you doing here? He's like, they put a notice on your door 30 days ago. Like, today's the day. You got to get the fuck out, you know? But I couldn't, like, I saw that fucking notice, but I just, if it didn't have to do with getting high today, it didn't matter. I'll figure it out when I get there. I'll put that shit off, because the most important thing for me was always getting high, because that's, I thought, solved everything. You know what I mean? I was always looking for that magic formula, like it says in our book, to solve myself. You know what I mean? Or to make me feel better, or to make me not deal with it. Like, I remember thinking to myself, if I could just work harder than everybody else, I can retire earlier, and then I'll have a ton of money, and then I can get high whenever I want.
Yeah.
And the whole goal was to like avoid the pain of living, like avoid all the things in life that I didn't like. And I heard this comedian, podcaster. He's also, he did piano growing up. So he was doing like a piano lesson thing. And he was like, you know why the Canon D, it's like the wedding song. You hear it every wedding. Well, the white keys are like the more positive keys, and the black keys have like a more ominous tone to them, the A minor black keys. And he was like, Canon D has both the A minor keys and the white keys. It has both, because that's what's beautiful about life, like the pain and the pleasure. You know what I mean? But that pain always reminded me that I was of who I was, which I believed to not have any value, and not be worth living for, because I was taught that, maybe inadvertently, maybe not on purpose, but adults who were doing the best that they could growing up for me, And I repeated this process, 2012, got my life back together again. And I would come in, and it was simple shit like I was talking to my sponsor brother Quan the other day, and we were talking to our sponsor Reggie, and he was like, I'm trying to get out on my own. I'm still living at my mom's house. I kind of got this half room off the living room, and he'd been clean over, I think he got 19 months now. So he's been trying to save up a little. He got a job at the shipyard. Shit's been looking up for him, and my sponsor was like, I'm good at budgeting and writing shit out. And he was telling Quan, like, all right, write down what your bills are, exactly how much you need. And Quan was like, all right, well, I'm gonna work overtime and do this and that. He's like, no, stop. Like, just get a sheet, a piece of paper, and write that out. And he couldn't see that he was still kind of thinking about like what he needed to do. And I could recognize it, because that's always been my fucking problem. Like, they come in and say, pray. I'm like, well, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in religious dogma. Like, and they're like, no, just pray. Like, just something that you believe is loving and caring. So the easiest thing for me was like spiritual principles. I know if I live by those, I have evidence and I see it in other people's lives. And that's what our program is. It's the 12 steps. It's a set of spiritual principles written so simply you can follow them in your daily life. But that shit was like too simple. It went over my head. Like, so they're like, just pray. Like, if something doesn't make sense to me, like in the street, I had to see how it was all going to work out for me to do it. You know what I mean? Because I'm always angling and making moves and controlling what I tell you. So I know you'll look at me the way I want you to look at me, or whatever I need to do to get what I'm trying to get. So if I don't see how it's going to work out, I think I'm a smart person, then that shit doesn't make sense to me. And I'm not, it's hard for me to do it. It's hard for me to trust something else besides my own reasoning, but the evidence 100% of the time in my life is that shit fucked my life up every time, my own reasoning, my own logic, my own thought process. So I had to lean on someone else's who had a proven experience, that their life was getting better. My sponsors, I think he did 15 years or something in state. And now he's got a successful business and a trade, and he works for a big heating and cooling company. And he's got his own van that he owns, a nice, like newer, like a lot of night, lives in a fucking like one of those high rise buildings and shit. His sponsors got like fucking like a Bentley and some other shit. And he develops and builds houses, and that his sponsor, my grand sponsor, That dude was smoking crack, sleeping on benches in the Norfolk scope. So like, I can't fucking argue with the evidence. You know what I mean? Like, so I started listening and doing this simple shit, like just praying, okay, please help me stay clean today. You know, thank you for helping me stay clean at the end of the day. And actually working steps, answering questions out of the step working guide. The biggest thing for me was being honest too, like start to actually share what I was thinking. Like before, I was always thinking, I'm just going to get clean for a little while and get my shit back together and I'll be good. But to you, I would say, I love this program. Yeah, I come to meetings. I'm really into this thing. You know what I mean? What you got to do, you got to get a sponsor and you got to be sponsored. And like, you know, you hang out with other people in recovery and I would say everything you want to hear. And it didn't help me, you know, it didn't help me being fake. And so I started actually sharing what I was thinking. Like, I don't believe in this shit. Like, I don't want to come to meetings. I don't want to, I don't want to go to my H&I commitment. Fucking help. Like, yeah, I understand. It sounds nice, but it's my day off. Like, I want to fucking chill or I want to go to the outlet and buy fucking 6 pairs of Vans or watch fucking football on Sunday, you know, or even when I do fucked up shit, tell my sponsor. I didn't go to my H&I commitment last week. Why? I wanted to watch the AFC championship game. And I just assumed all the people at the program would want to watch football too and not fucking listen to me. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm learning how to make mistakes and be honest about it and get help with it. You know what I mean? At least get a better perspective on it. And I'm fortunate. I found some people in the program like Ron and Reggie that can see me, you know, like really see me. Like I'd always fuck with Ron, my grand sponsor. I'm like, how do you see me, bro? Like I had a friend in the street, Damien, who reminded me because Damien would be like, I saw all of that shit. I'm like, I didn't say nothing. He's like, it was all over your face. You know what I mean? When you got somebody who can like see exactly what the fuck you thinking or you talking and they know you're lying. Like you say a bunch of shit. They're just like, stop lying. You're like, what do you mean? That shit sounded really good. You know? So it helps, man, to find like there's real people who really fucking been through what I've been through and have fucked things up just as bad and have learned how to stop fucking things up, you know? And so this last time I couldn't stop using, I started coming to meetings and this dude, call him fucking Jolly Paul. Like this motherfucker, we make jokes. We're like, cause they'll say, don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle happens. And that to me means don't get high no matter what. Like no matter how bad it looks or how much you don't think it's going to work out, just don't get high. That's the fucking key to success for me. As long as I don't get high, I got a chance to do everything else. Once I get high, I don't have a chance for nothing, you know? So this dude, Paul, he said, I can pick you up at 5:30 in the morning. I'm dropping another guy off at the airport. I can come to your house. You hang out with me all day. You won't get high. So it's like, all right, you know, because I really didn't want to stop getting high, but I really want to stop getting high, you know? So I said, yes, spent a day with him, end up being honest with him throughout that day when he locked his fucking keys in the car at Waffle House. And another girl showed up. She came and met us for breakfast that day at Waffle House on her way to work in a program. She just picked up two years. Paul's got like 20 years, you know, and made it through a fucking day without using. And then the next day was Christmas or the day after or something. And I didn't have nothing going on. So my mom, she had her house at the time, but she ended up losing. And I was picking up sticks in the backyard because they were doing like a fire pit. Like there's a lot of people in the program in different areas. Every season, every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, and then throughout the year, like the dude I live with now has a pool in the backyard. And he did 3 pool parties this summer, like 50, 100 people coming over throughout the day, just hanging out. You know, our other friend went to the food bank, got a bunch of extra food, like meat and shit. We're grilling up. People are bringing shit. You know, there's always something going on where it's basically someone saying, whoever the fuck wants to come is welcome. So I went to one of those, whoever the fuck wants to come and needs to stay clean for a day Christmas things. and I was gathering trees in the backyard of my mom's, and there was this big ass, not like a stick, like a branch had fallen off, like from a storm, and I couldn't break that shit. So I put it up on a little step up, and I jumped on it in the middle, it gapped up as hard as I could to break it, and that whole branch, that whole log came up and just hit me in the side of the face. So like my first day clean, fucking,
Yeah.
I had a welt, like my whole face went numb. I still remember like my whole face went numb, and I was like, I was just like, I hope I didn't break my fucking jaw. Like I can't fucking deal with this shit right now, man. I got a fucking day clean. I cannot deal with a broken jaw. Like, and it hit me so flush that it just put a huge welt on the side of my face, but it didn't break nothing. So I'm in meetings all day long with a big ass ice pack on my face, on top of, that's basically how I felt on the inside too, welted up, beat the fuck, bruised up, and got the sticks, and we went to the Christmas, I still showed the fuck up. Like the best thing that I've done so far is saying yes to NA. With 10 days clean, I went to this convention out in Asheville, beautiful area, Asheville, North Carolina, about 6 hours away. They got it's like a mountainous area. They got hit real bad with that storm this year, but went to a convention. So they got conventions all around the US always going on. And my boy Kari picked me up. And, he said, I got you on the hotel. I got you on the tickets. And he said, you got any food? You got any money? I said, no, but I got food stamps. So if you take me to a grocery store when we get out there, I'll have something to eat, And he said, well, boom, here's $20 just in case you need to spend something. You need to buy you a coffee or something. So you feel all right. And they had the gas and they covered everything, man. And on that ride back, there was another dude in the car, Anthony, and he shared some shit that had happened to him when he was a kid. And I had never shared something that happened to me with anybody. So I was able to take that opportunity to share that, But that's what I've found this program and these people to be like, they're not asking you for nothing but to just stay clean and give it a try. My friend Brian, who just got 30 years, he always says, you live about 75 years on average. So just try one fucking year, man. If you had 75 cents, what would it be like to throw away a penny? Wouldn't be nothing to you, man. Just give it one fucking year. Just show up, do what they fucking are, do what they're doing, not even what they say. Just do what they're doing, show up. And I've been doing that, man. I got 13 months clean, and I got all the outside shits going good, job, car. I went to my boy's sponsor line in Florida last year. His whole sponsor line's from Miami. And I visited them earlier November or some shit. Went and visited them. We went to the Keys, went to a speaker jam down there and a fish fry. These two old Puerto Rican ladies spoke. It was a lot of fun. They call their area down in the Keys the Conch Republic. Like, it's got a lot of pirate history down there. So every time they're like the Conch Republic, they all go "arr" in all the meetings. So like you got their own little areas everywhere. You know what I mean? 757. We got the beach area. We got the Tidewater area. We got the peninsula area. And we all get together and throw conventions and throw get-togethers and speaker jams and dances and food and fun and fellowship. And there's always people volunteering. There's something that's called the Portsmouth Picnic that's been going on for 15 years, 20 years or something every year. And people keep coming back and they try to share what they have. Cause if you see what it's like without using for a little while and doing what these people do, man, sometimes that shit just fucks you up. You know what I mean? I just wanted to die, man. I just couldn't kill myself, but I was just begging to die, man. And the only thought I would have was how fucked up it'd be for my daughter. You know what I mean? And, so I tried this thing. I never could have imagined how good my life is today. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you.
And I love Steve, and I'm a piggyback. because like some of those things he shared about, like those things that we've done, that I've done, that shit that he taught, like he sits down with his daughter and her fiance now. Like the things that I've done in my life, right, that were the worst they're my assets now. Like they're my assets, but I gotta stay clean. And then there's like 100,000 meetings around the world. Look, my wife, look, she was having a miscarriage and I got to go to my home group. Like I left my wife bleeding, and we ended up having 2 kids. But if I needed to get drugs, I would. I'd be like, I see you, honey. I got to go. And maybe now with a little bit more clean time, I can put some priorities first. But in the beginning, it was hard. I did that. It's like I fucking did it. And I do the Zoom meetings. I do the fucking Zoom meetings. So if you get out of here and you don't go to an in-person meeting, the Zooms, I did all drugs. And it broadened your base. And the last thing I want to say is I read the Just for Today. Y'all remember that? Kari sent me that, right? Like I know his sponsor line. Like I'll tell you right now, I would rather sit with one of y'all and talk about the times that you got high than get high with you. Like I feel that more, so one more time for Steve. All right.